Good morning, YouTube. Trevor the Aviator here, introducing you to my mom here while we're on a beautiful morning here in the beaches of Florida. And today we got something a little bit of a surprise for you guys. So the reason we're here at the beach in Florida is because we are going to Kennedy Space Center. Woo! Which it is going to be an epic tour, and if things work out, there is a launch that is scheduled for this afternoon, so finger crossed that something happens. But in the meantime, we're gonna get ready to head to the Space Center, and I'll see you guys when we head over there. As we began to approach our way into Kennedy Space Center, I was greeted with quite some excitement as we were about to see what this facility had to offer. With the vibes I've had, I knew that this was going to be a lot different than my experience at Johnson Space Center that I visited last year. If you want to see that video, the link will be in the description below if you want to see the similarities and differences between these two space centers. Outside of the entrance, there were still some things to see around, including the memorial fountain where it featured President John F. Kennedy's most famous quote about space. In 1961, President Kennedy began to expand the U.S. space program with a goal of landing a man on the moon by the end of the decade and to beat the Soviet Union in the space race after they launched the satellite Sputnik in 1957. With this, they succeeded, and the goal came to life when Neil Armstrong being the first human on the moon on July 21st, 1969, which also marked as one of the biggest moments in U.S. history. After heading in from the entrance was when the appearance of Rocket Park came, as in this area there were various displays of rockets used in past NASA missions. Me and my family who I was with were all amazed seeing all of these on display. With that being said, some of the rockets on display included the Gemini Titan II, the Mercury Redstone, the Saturn V, which if you ask me feels like the mini-scale version of the Saturn V, and also probably the biggest one here, and then the tallest one here, the Delta II, which was followed by many more rockets to see that were around, which made me absolutely mind blown already with seeing all of this just by entering the place. After checking out Rocket Park was when we headed our way over to the Apollo exhibit, where I will be having my grandpa tell you about the Saturn V rocket as he worked on the first stage during the Apollo era. Alrighty everybody, so we just arrived at the Apollo/Saturn V complex, and very shortly we are going to be going in and seeing what there is, and I am looking very forward to this one. Alright everybody, so I would like to introduce you to my grandpa who worked on the first stage of this rocket, and
there it is.
There she is.
5 engines.
Quite something, that is for sure.
At the Visitor Center at Kennedy Space Center, what they have done is they've taken the control panels that were used for the Apollo 11 launch, and they've recreated at the Launch Control Center in a separate building that's adjoining where the Saturn V is on display. And what you're seeing here is the actual panels that were in the control room during the launch of Apollo 11 and a number of other Apollo missions as well. The very first row of the panels that you see there on the far left side is the first panels are for the first stage of the Saturn V. On the right side are for the second stage. Behind them in the second row is the third stage of the Saturn V and the instrument unit for the Saturn V. While I was with the program, I was involved with the first stage of the Saturn V, and I was sitting right at the panels that are on the first row far left. While I was there, were on the far left side, including the fuel systems on one panel, the liquid oxygen systems on another panel, the engine systems, and the various support systems that were associated with the fuel, liquid oxygen, and the engines. When you leave the mock-up of the Launch Control Center, you enter immediately into the very large building that is housing the gigantic Saturn V rocket. And the first thing you see when you enter the building is these huge engines at the very bottom of the Saturn V. These are the F1 engines that powered the Saturn V at liftoff. Each of those engines at liftoff is producing 1.5 million pounds of thrust at liftoff. As the rocket ascends, the thrust actually increases for a combined thrust of about 9 million pounds of thrust at the time when they finally shut off after roughly 2 minutes and 30 seconds of burn time. At the bottom there you see the 5 engines. The center engine is in fixed position, but the 4 outboard engines are able to gimbal and move around, and they provide the actual steering of the rocket to keep it vertical for one and on course. The Saturn V rocket was the launch vehicle was used for all of the Apollo missions that were outbound to the moon and back. Probably the 3 most significant and most remembered missions in the Apollo program were Apollo 8, Apollo 11, and the infamous Apollo 13. Apollo 8 was probably the most ambitious mission that was flown by NASA during the entire project. Apollo 8 was the very first time that man was used on top of the Saturn V, not knowing just how much this thing would do. The incredible power that's being released at the bottom, with 3 men strapped to it at the very top, 365 feet above. But not only was it the first mission that it involved men, it was also the first time that man left Earth orbit. They were sent on a mission. They left Earth orbit en route to the moon. So they also became the first people to orbit the moon, and then became the first ones to land coming back from the moon. So the Apollo 8 had many, many firsts in its for the mission, and it was really one of the high points. Of course, Apollo 11 is widely remembered because that's the first time when the man tried to land right on the moon. Indeed, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed safely on the moon, and spent better part of several hours there before returning back to lunar orbit to connect with the spacecraft, and then fire off and return to Earth. And of course, almost everybody remembers the infamous Apollo 13, which was memorialized in the movie Apollo 13, which ran into problems along the way and became kind of a saving mission.
After Apollo 13 was when my grandpa left the Apollo program before Apollo 14 occurred, beginning in late January of 1971. With this, it was the 3rd mission that landed man on the moon, and featured as well the Apollo 14 module inside of the Saturn V exhibit. And after learning a lot more about the Apollo program from my grandpa's perspective and the entire program in general, we began to head our way back to the entrance to head to the NASA Atlantis exhibit. Alrighty, so we just got out of the Apollo and Saturn V Center, and wow, was that amazing to see. But now we are going to be going to the Atlantis Space Shuttle, where we will be seeing that, and then hopefully, keyword hopefully, we can end up seeing the launch scheduled for later this afternoon. Fingers crossed. After taking a break for lunch was when I entered the Atlantis exhibit with some of my extended family. Due to the fact that the rocket launch they decided was scheduled to happen, I did not get to see everything that this exhibit had to offer. However, I did get to see the majority of the things that were in here. The one thing that really impressed me the most was seeing the Atlantis Space Shuttle, and all I can say is wow. And it is quite an amazing thing to see. Once I got to this, it made me realize just how huge this machine actually is. And I really liked how this was angled as well, and it is slanted at 43.21 degrees in the position as if it was docked from the International Space Station, which I find that to be really interesting. Seeing this as well being empty gave me a better picture as to how big this thing actually is, with the inside being open as well. After exploring the space shuttle area, there is still quite a bit more to see inside of this exhibit. But after that part though, it is mainly a kids area where there are some very nice activities for kids to do. And my cousin ended up taking full advantage of it, as he did go down the slide that was here and also a couple of other things. And after that ended up occurring, we did a little bit more exploring before headed our way out to get ready to see the SpaceX launch. Launch time, launch time, launch time. I am very excited for this moment. It is going to be amazing. Oh my goodness. After everything that has happened, all I can say is wow. That launch was amazing with what just happened. Overall, though, I feel that this was a place that I really enjoyed while being with my extended family. It was a very nice visit, but I do feel like that I need to spend some more time here so I can be able to get a full picture as to just how amazing that this place was. There was so much to see, and I hope that I can be able to make another visit here sometime soon. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching. If you guys are interested in more of my videos, then go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Until then, this is Trevor the Aviator from Kennedy Space Center. Bye, everybody!